So about a week ago, there was a leak from what seemed like, I guess, Hasbro factories of what we could perceive as the next wave or assortment of Cyberverse Deluxe Transformers. Now, for people that aren't familiar with the Cyberverse Deluxe Transformers, they're pretty much the more higher-end version of characters from the Transformers Cyberverse line. Cyberverse was a very gimmick-laden kind of line, very bare bones in terms of budget and price pointing. And ultimately, in the end, fans just want to get the best versions of the characters in the show, and that's what the deluxe price point kind of gave us. The initial wave, if you will, I guess we'll call it assortment of 8 figures, which led to also a Build-A-Figure gimmick, was pretty popular, did very well. Some were good, some were not so good. Some were not even the best versions of those characters, oddly enough. Looking at you, Thunderhowl. But that being said, it doesn't make a difference because at least we do get other opportunities for some of these characters to get better versions. They all come with accessories. And at least at that time, we had a Build-A-Figure, which gave opportunities for characters that probably would have not had a retail release to get one. So we have now this latest assortment, and I was hesitant to do the news on it because when the news broke for it, it was kind of a mistake. It was a Walmart.com listing for Transformers Cyberverse Prowl, but it showed all the brand new images, which we were pretty much seeing for the first time of Starscream. These were all control art images and stock images of the alt mode, the robot mode, the package on both sides, but this was all inside Cyberverse Prowl's listing. So I was kind of hoping that, over the next couple of days, we'd probably see the others also, and we can do this pretty much this news review in some kind of greater capacity and talk about everything, but that is not the case. So I figured we'll tackle Starscream because also Starscream is a bit of an interesting release here because I'm not too much of a fan of what I'm seeing here, and I'll get into that. Now, Starscream is one of those characters in the Cyberverse show that has had tons of toys. Tons and tons of toys, like literally every price point that could possibly exist across all the gimmicks of the Cyberverse toy line. Starscream has been in. He's been a scout. He's been a one-step. He's been a warrior class. He's been other warrior classes. He's been an ultra class. He's been a battle class. He's been in Energon armor. He's been a tiny turbo changer. He's been in multi-packs. He's been in the Battle Call Trooper series. He's been in the McDonald's and fast food kind of promotion stuff. Literally, if there was a price point, this character has been in it. And up to that point, the best version of the character that you could purchase to match how he looked on the show, which is always the thrive that we all try to do, is we watch the show and then we want to get the best version that matches how he looks on the show. Up to that point, I would have to say the Warrior Class 2018 Starscream was that figure. Had a robot mode that more or less matched what was going on the show, obviously being a warrior class, the limited budget of articulation and paint decos, and of course molded in plastic led to only so much that could be done. And the alt mode, while limited, still kind of caught that Earth mode jet that he kind of sported in the show. Now, we get to the deluxe that were shown here today, and already I got questions. I got a lot of questions. First thing that I'm wondering about is the molded dark blue that's used for a lot of the upper torso. On the back of his packaging, we have some control art. Obviously, this control art is always colored in with CG, but it shows that it's not using blue for the upper torso. It uses a molded in gray. In this case, it's just straight up blue. It's probably due to the gang molding of how it's assembled in the factory, and they didn't want to bother coloring it, or it was just cheaper to just make it blue so that they could do it for the toes and the fists and the other areas too. That's usually just how figures are assembled and how they find a cheaper way to mold the plastic altogether. So that's the first thing that kind of throw it off for me. That red, white, and blue in those areas just look very odd, and it doesn't match how he looks in the show. Again, how it looks on the back of the packaging is a lot more accurate. How the actual figure looks is not so much. It reminds me of, I think it's Nasil or Narsil or whatever it was called. It was one of the Transformer Collector Club figures. It was the red, white, and blue figure. It reminds me almost just a little bit of the Commandrons, which was a McDonald's Tommy transforming robot line that, pull back and it was a walker. They had a jet version. Kind of reminds me a little bit of that, but not too much. But either way, so the robot mode kind of throws me off a little bit. Very weird. Again, some of the details of the character's animation model are there. Some of the details are not there. He has the gimmick, which is the Seeker Strike, which has the extra energy accessories. And as a result of the Seeker Strike, he has these two giant pegs just under his breastplate that is for the Seeker Strike, so the missiles could come out of his chest. But it just looks kind of weird. You know, I really feel that they probably could have done without that, or make those little missiles be, you know, clippable onto just the null rays or something, or on his wrist. Very weird to do that. I understand what they were going with, and they want to have that gimmick and have it be universal with all the other peg points and stuff like that with all the other figures, but I don't know, not feeling it. Comes with the two null rays. They attach on his wrist, and they could also be held like guns, so that's kind of cool, I guess. Keep that, you know, synergy. And he comes with two energy weapons that can be attached to the ends of those null rays, and of course could be probably put on those two little lower nipples that he has here on his chest. The robot mode, again, I'm not feeling it. Not feeling it. But what's even more kind of messy is when we get to that alt mode. Now, the alt mode has thrown off a lot of people, primarily because of the choice that they went with. It's kind of a fusion between how his Cybertronian mode looked like in the first few episodes, specifically because if you look at the front nose, it has those two little fins in the front. That's kind of like how his alt mode looked in the first few episodes, and then he adopted his more traditional jet mode in the later episodes, and you see the other Seeker jets kind of sport that too. So it's kind of a weird fusion of the two, I guess, but it's more so, I don't even think it's a fusion, it's just that they were not able to achieve anything that looks more or less like he does in the show within the budget that they had, and it just results into this kind of weird, lackluster kind of looking, you know, jet mode, which is kind of a shame considering how we've had Starscream toys from as far back as even like Armada and Energon that did a way better, cleaner job at a jet mode and a robot mode, and yet this one here in 2020 kind of struggles to do that, which I find very weird. Maybe there was a budgetary constraint, or there was a design constraint. Maybe they just wanted to be a little different. I don't know what's really going on here, but it's kind of a weak look, and it's kind of a shame. Especially considering this is supposed to be the deluxe, and this is supposed to be like the best version of it. I think I would also, you know, again, forgive it more if it just didn't have that blue in the upper torso that just kind of throws off the rest of the robot mode, where when you compare it again to how it looks on the back of the packaging, it looks a lot nicer. And at the end of the day, we really just want to have a really good representation of how he looked in the show, especially considering how much he was involved in the show, especially even in season 3. And just, I mean, we have so many options, and all of them were kind of lackluster up to this point, that you would think that this would finally be the answer to our prayers, and it really isn't. Now I'm kind of just looking at that Vic Viper one that we got, that Cybertronian jet one, and I'm still going, maybe that's the best one still. I don't know, it's not even show accurate, but it's kind of the coolest one of the bunch. I don't know. I'm kind of, 1 foot in, 1 foot out about this guy right now. Maybe I just need to get him in person, and I'll make a better decision. It's kind of like how when I finally got Hot Rod in person, and I just saw how the plastic quality was not that great. I was very disappointed with that, even though that probably would have been the figure out of the whole bunch I should have been excited about, the most excited anyhow. And then I think RC was the one that really floored me in terms of quality. RC was, out of all the deluxes, RC probably had the best plastic quality, paint quality. It felt like a deluxe should have felt like, like a deluxe from like 2009 or something, when the budget was much better than what it is today. I don't know. And I said this last time, I feel like Hasbro just really has not stood behind the Transformers Cyberverse line confidently. They've not really promoted it as much whenever they do their Hasbro Pulse panels or any kind of convention stuff. It's always been kind of the afterthought, even at a New York Toy Fair or a San Diego Comic-Con. It's just kind of in the corner, and some guy just managed to take some photos of some tiny turbo changers or a display. Like, you would think that this is going to be the thing that's their show. It's on TV. It's their active product. It's going to be streaming. It's going to be, playing in reruns. You think that they want to talk about this more than stuff like movie toys that, we don't even have like another movie for a couple while, or Earthrise, which is going to have the Netflix series of only 6 episodes and that's it. So you'd think that something that's supposed to be kind of a more ongoing media property like the Cyberverse line, they'd get more behind it. But it's been a very kind of weak display, considering that I like the show. I like the show a lot. I like a lot of how the characters are depicted. Season 3 was a pretty good take. It's a very short series. It's very short runtime, unfortunately. You could literally watch the entire show in a day, I almost feel like, because of just how short these 9-minute, they're 10-minute episodes, but they really are like 8-minute episodes at the end of the day. And you only have so many, so you could really blaze through it quickly. And then after you've consumed the show and you go, you know what, I want to own some toys from this, and you realize just how weak a lot of the product is because of the in-between audience that Hasbro was aiming for. Like, so much of it, like when I look, I'm just going to pull up Starscream again. Was the one-step Starscream necessary? Was the, Scout, which doesn't even have like a proper robot mode, necessary? I understand they want to have multiple price points of certain characters to make people have stuff to be able to afford. But between the one-step and the Scout, it's almost not necessary to have both. You could just have the one and save the trouble and the shelf space and the production. It's the same thing when you talk about, what's the difference between having the Warrior class Starscream and the Ultra class that just has like some kind of gimmick? It doesn't have a place. It's not really necessary. And that was the problem with the line in general, and why the Deluxe line for a lot of us collectors was kind of this hyper-focused thing, because we were just kind of hoping, hey, just give us more of this, give us more of that, give us a Deluxe Windblade, give us a Deluxe this. And we still have Soundwave and Prowl to also pick apart. And even Prowl I'm kind of worried about because of the colors too. I hope that's not the case. I hope that maybe this was just some bad photos. But I'm hoping for the best. Let me know what you think about this. I know that people were excited about Starscream, but let me know what you think. Hopefully we'll get the other photos in the future, and we'll see what's happening with Soundwave with that laser beak that what people are speculating. And Prowl, let's just hope the colors are pretty decent, because Prowl is another character also that had a ton of figures, and this could hopefully be his best version.